Welcome to Quarantine Catch Up. I'm Tom Rinaldi. That's Chris Famularo. And we wanted to catch up with each other. We haven't really talked too much since quarantine happened. And we wanted to share what we've been going through throughout this quarantine, new things we've experienced, new music, new movies, new TV, and kind of go from there. Chris, how you feeling today?
I'm doing okay, making the best of it while in the quarantine world. It's a bit of a nice day out, so got to spend some time outside, so that's good.
Yeah, that's great. So what are some of the things that you've caught up during quarantine? Some movies, some music, some TV?
I've been all over the place, really. I guess we'll start with TV. I finally, after a lot of recommendations, started BoJack Horseman, which honestly was the best decision I have made so far when it comes to anything media related. I have fallen in love with the show. It's one of the most incredibly written shows I've ever watched. It's emotional. The animation is incredible. The storylines. It's honestly one of the most intelligent and incredible shows that I've watched, whether it's on Netflix or TV as a whole. It easily launched into my top 5 TV shows of all time.
Yeah, our friend Rob has been telling us to watch this since it came out, really. And I've watched, I believe, 3 seasons and just fell off. I really enjoyed it, but I couldn't continue because I was watching other things and life happens and all that good stuff. But what were some of the episodes that you might have liked?
Man, there's a good handful of them, but honestly, I can think of 3 right off the top. There's one from season 5, which is just the whole episode is just BoJack giving a eulogy for his mother. Which, if you've watched the show, you understand that they do not have even remotely close to an okay relationship. She is not a good mother. That has then forced BoJack to not really become that good of a son. He's very distant from her, and that season you really get to understand where the trauma comes from, why BoJack the way he is, why his mother is the way that she is, and the episode it's literally just a eulogy. It's 20 some odd minutes of just BoJack talking. There's no other characters that speak, and
BoJack's
it's
willing to take risks. That's one thing you have to give the show. The show's really willing to take risk of. It's not just a dark comedy. It's giving you deeper themes, and it's willing to take a whole episode to go into those deeper themes.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's super willing to kind of cross its own boundaries that it sets, and it layers its thought process with comedy as well as really just this emotional aspect that the show wants you to latch onto, and it doesn't force you to kind of follow along with it. But if you can latch onto it, it really makes the show so much better of a viewing experience.
Yeah, I'm sure. And what were the other 2 episodes?
Both of them are in season 6. It's anyone who has watched the last season of BoJack probably knows the 2 episodes I'm talking about. It's the
Yeah.
last 2, and the second to last episode of the season, which is it's an emotional episode, and it's basically just about. I don't want to spoil it because you haven't watched it. But okay, so it's kind of not a trippy episode in what I would normally say that for, but it's very thought provoking. It's very
Mhm.
makes you think within yourself. It makes you really try to understand character motivation and development and how characters view problems and how they view solving those problems and how people don't solve those problems and how big momentous occasions that happen in your life, whether good or bad, those will stick with you for the rest of your life. And this episode really deals with it, and it deals with BoJack dealing with himself, how he feels, how his journey from the beginning of the show till now. It's and the end of it is incredible. It also has one of the best visual scenes where when it comprising its dialogue with the emotion it's trying to portray. It's a very powerful episode.
Uh, with that, do you think that it being a cartoon makes it more viable to get these deeper things out? You don't get to connect on that human aspect, even though these characters feel very human. But do you think it being a cartoon and able to break some of the laws of our reality help it to push certain themes through and stuff like that?
Well, honestly, I think the most human part of the show is the writing and the voice acting,
Hmm.
because if those two things weren't on that high of a level, then the animation wouldn't even need to be at that point. I mean, I think the animation does its job, But when it needs to be outstanding, like that episode in particular, I'm not entirely referencing the animation. While there are some really good parts of animation, there are other episodes I could relate to where the animation
The
sticks out.
underwater episode, I feel like, is definitely
Yeah.
one of the, you can't do that obviously in real life, and that's, for a while, that was one of the best episodes that they had up until that point. And I feel like there's a lot of cartoons like that. Even Big Mouth. I know Big Mouth is something older that we've watched together and everything like that. But it's able to show you the goofiness of what adolescence is, and I think it's easier to show its raunchiness and everything else as well because it's a cartoon.
Yeah,
And I
I
feel like
think
BoJack has some of that, not the same way, but for its own reasons, the cartoon helps it.
I think what the difference between BoJack and Big Mouth is that Big Mouth really leans into its animation when it comes to jokes.
That's
Big
true.
Mouth's jokes, or BoJack's jokes, are not that leaning into the animation. Sure, there are some, and a lot of them have to do with like, gags or physical comedy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like if Big Mouth solely wanted a joke just about how a character looked, they would draw it first and then they would make the joke about it. Whereas it seems like BoJack's world is built around the script and then they animate to the script.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to argue that Big Mouth isn't, because there are a lot of really insightful episodes of Big Mouth, but it's on a different level than BoJack.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of shows like that rely on the writing, and another funny one I think is Arrested Development. I mean, that show, in my opinion, is one of the best written comedies of our generation, at least. And like you're saying, it's based on the wit of the characters and the people playing those characters being able to perform as those characters. And I feel like people like Will Arnett and BoJack, they have a real understanding of what they're in and what they're trying to perceive.
I mean, absolutely. I don't know how Will Arnett didn't win more Emmys for BoJack. I don't know how.
Yeah.
He rightfully won the ones that he should have, but I don't know how he didn't win more. But even going on that, just all of the voice actors as a whole, they can really use their voice to attain this different emotional level when they really need it to. I mean, you said you stopped watching some points through season 3. And there are episodes later on where the voice acting just carries the scene. I mean, going back to the Free Churro episode with the eulogy, like that's, like I said, it's just a eulogy. You only hear the emotion that is conveyed through the voice and then what is then depicted in the animation. And it was outstanding. And the Lead a Horse to Water episode there's no sound. There's no sound. That's all animation. And they did a phenomenal job of that. That's where I think that's why BoJack stands so high, because when they want to make a message, they'll do it differently and they'll do it right.
Do you think that with shows like BoJack and a movie, say like Into the Spider-Verse, really groundbreaking stuff, do you think that the Academy or whoever's voting on these awards and even the masses, do you think that they're going to more appreciate these things because of the high quality that we're getting out of these shows and movies?
I think it's very subjective, especially since now that I feel like movies and TV shows are judged differently.
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse, I think, probably could have won on its animation alone,
Yeah.
and in comparison to other animated movies. But the everything in that movie has it going for it. The animation, the music, the writing, the character development, the voice acting, it's all on a high level for that. Whereas BoJack, I think, and TV shows, when it comes to that, it doesn't entirely, you don't need to look at all facets. I think you need to look at what facets are operating at the highest level, and then you can decide as a viewer how that makes you feel. Where, if the voice acting, you can feel the emotion in just the sound of someone's voice, that's powerful enough. Or if the animation is able to open your eyes a little bit and kind of make you understand what they were going for with their story. I think that's where it's different. Where movies, I feel like it's kind of like a combination of everything has to be operating at a high level. Where TV shows, I think 1 or 2 episodes can win a show, a season, or an Emmy.
I totally get what you're saying. On voice acting, I mean, I've been a huge fan of voice acting. I mean, I grew up on Batman the Animated Series and things along that line of the DC animated universe and everything. So Mark Hamill being the Joker, that was one of my inspirations to really get into this field and everything. And there's a really great documentary on Amazon Prime, if you have it, called I Know That Voice. And it's from John DiMaggio, who plays Bender from Futurama. And it goes into how they come up with their voices, why their voices are that way, and how it's really acting. It's not just someone reading a silly voice in front of a microphone and everything like that. It's actors getting their role out just from their voice, and they have to hit every little thing to make you feel what you're feeling. And I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. As a person who's a huge fan of video games, I mean, that's when you get a high, name actor to play a part in a video game, that's not really that's big news for the video game itself, not for the actor itself. It's almost like they kind of denote it, like the actor is kind of taking a step down to go be a part of it. Like the biggest one that I can think of is oh my god, what is his name? He played Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage, thank you.
You're welcome.
When Destiny, which is like a first-person shooter MMO, was being delivered, he was named as the voice of the Ghost, which was supposed to be like the guide, not the protagonist, but the guide to help the character along in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was so excited because he's just a phenomenal actor all around. He has a really great voice, and everybody was excited for it. And then the game came out, and it's the most watered down, like vanilla, basic. There was no point in having him. It doesn't sound like Peter Dinklage. It sounds like somebody else trying to be Peter Dinklage. So it was.
Isn't that game Cyberpunk 99 or 2099 with Keanu Reeves supposed to come out at some point this year or next year?
Well, that game is. Well, with everything going on, every game is kind of in development hell right now. But Cyberpunk 2077.
That's what it is. Sorry, thank you.
It does have Keanu Reeves in it, it's so interesting to see him promote it.
Yeah,
because he's like super into it. But that game, even before all this COVID-19 stuff, was in development hell. Anyways, it was constantly getting pushed back, and they didn't seem like it was right. Which is. From a gamer's perspective, you want that to happen because you don't want the game to come out early.
Yeah.
But then on the same side, you want the game to come out so you can play it.
Of course.
But, yeah, I mean, in the video game world, there's two names that stick out. It's Nolan North and
oh, for sure.
And he does Uncharted voices.
Nolan North also does Uncharted, so I'm not sure who else you're thinking.
I don't know. And there's one other one that I
know John DiMaggio from Futurama. He does a lot of Gears of War stuff as well. So.
Yeah, I've played. I haven't played them in a little while, but I do remember. I can't. I'm like so fried right now. I just can't.
Okay. You enjoyed a nice hot day outside for the first time in a while, thankfully.
Yeah, I was just baking outside.
But what other things have you been playing? What you've been listening to? What have you been watching?
I guess I'll just go into video games because that's really what I've been mainly taking up most of my time. I've played a large number of games during this whole pandemic. I mean, we've been in it now for 2 weeks, or 2 months. 2 months.
3 months almost, yeah.
2 months, and I've played a bunch of games. I played a bunch of new games. I got No Man's Sky, which is...
How is that? That's the like giant like it's a whole universe of planets.
It's literally a whole galaxy. It's a whole universe that it's basically just like explore, and then once you find planets that you like, you can then kind of choose how you want to go about it. So you can either be like, you can be straight up an explorer, like you can just find planets and go throughout and then make money on your journey to the center of the universe.
Okay.
Or you can be a trader, which you can gather valuable resources, or you can do like these side missions that you can loot, or you can go to the different planets and get the different animals or different plants that are on those planets, and then you can get a freighter. You have to buy it, and then you can stock that freighter, and then from that freighter you can get other smaller frigates to do convoy missions for you, like research ships or trading or mining or destroying pirate vessels. Like from there, your freighter becomes how you kind of want to make money in the game. And then there's also a story that kind of gives you the lore, and I hope I'm halfway through. I'm not really sure, but overall, I mean, it's a really great game. It's very deep in its exploration and its kind of willingness to let you do what you want. Like, you don't have to do the story if you don't want to.
It sounds infinite.
Yeah, it really is.
And I mean, No Man's Sky, kind of in the name. But you could go to, it sounds like you could go to any planet, kind of do something different on each of them and still attain your goal as you go through. And it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a game if you are one of those people who can kind of just hop on a game and kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's really good for you. What's cool about the different planets and why it makes it so interesting is because each planet it truly is different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the weather is different. The extreme weather on it. You know, you could have like extreme radiation that really prevents you from staying outside long. And then there's things like super hot rainstorms that will drain your life system before you can even really get going anywhere. There's freezing cold planets, or there's my favorite is like the different adjectives for the planets that are basically they're just empty planets. Like something happened to them, so they're called technically arid planets, or they're empty, but some of them are like soulless planet or hopeless planet, and it's just like you go there, the only thing that's there is like the ground of whatever the planet is made of, and then there's these things called biological terrors that spawn. Like they place down really valuable eggs, which if you can steal them, you can sell them for really high. But as soon as you take one, the biological terrors come out, and you basically can't kill them.
Oh, fun!
And they will chase you infinitely if you stay on the planet.
That sounds horrifying.
High risk, high reward kind of thing. But
of course,
the game overall, I would recommend it. It's awesome for people who love just exploring.
Hey, it sounds like a lot of fun. One of the things I've been playing is MLB The Show. Me and my brother have been trying to get our team up on Diamond Dynasty. It's mostly his team. And then I play Road to the Show, which is my own career. And it's so frustrating because I know I'm at least half decent. But in Road to the Show, I'm hitting like 180 or 200, which is god-awful. But I'm still leading the league in steals. I don't understand how I'm doing any bit of either good or bad in this game. I'll hit a ball middle, right in the PCI, which is like how my player swings, and it'll say okay contact. Like I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. All my attributes are high and all this other stuff, and I just want to put it on rookie again and destroy everything for a little bit, and then go back to playing on All-Star just to get my bearings back.
Well, that's like when we lived together in college. Like you would always watch me play my player in NBA 2K.
Yeah.
And you saw me start out. Like I had never owned a 2K game before where I would play my player. So you watched me develop my player truthfully for the first time, and you saw me start out on like rookie level, and then I went to the next level because my guy was like hitting 3-pointers where he's fully contested, and you would just sit there in the background going, how did he hit that?
There's just no way.
There was no way he would hit it. And then I went up to the next level, and then I adjusted to that, and then the next level. So like my player or any of those franchise modes are what draw me to sports games. I mean, in the same vein, I've been playing the newest Madden 20, which I have quickly learned that it is very different from a lot of the Maddens that we remember.
Yeah, of course.
Rushing the ball in this game is basically unstoppable.
Yeah.
If you don't have a quarterback that is over like at least 85, you will be god awful. Yeah. You won't make a pass. You won't complete a pass if you're under pressure. If you try to run the ball, forget it. You're going to get hit and fumble immediately. You're going to throw a crap ton of interceptions. So I did my player on Madden, and it took me 2 tries to actually get a good quarterback for face of the franchise mode.
It's tough. I was actually just watching before this. My buddy X, he's been playing and streaming on Twitch and everything for Madden's Ultimate Team, and he's building a disgusting team. Like everything's 99, and he just got a new playbook, and he runs the pistol like no one else I've seen before. And it's so entertaining to watch when someone good plays. I've always been a watcher of games because I have 2 older brothers. And even when in college, I always watch you play instead of playing together or whatever it was. And just like that, I mean, going into something like Call of Duty Warzone, which has been huge for everybody playing and everybody watching. It's been huge for streamers. It's been a ton of fun for fans like us. I've been playing COD for almost our entire lives. How have you been enjoying Warzone?
It's really dependent on the day, if you ask me, because some days I love Warzone.
Yeah.
Sadly, I only have one friend that with me that will actually like squad up with me. I don't have a full four, so I don't get the full enjoyment out of it. Because I'm sure if I had a squad of four, I don't know how many games I would have won by now. Because
Yeah.
I've won 10 with just me and my friend Nick.
Do you
So
play quads or trios?
started at one when it first came out, it was only trio, so we played
Yeah.
that, and then quads came out, and we only play quads. But now we almost never get a full squad, so I don't know why we keep playing quads because we never get four, and if we do, people almost always rage quit as soon as they die.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've also been playing more so trying to play the solo because I've
Mhm.
only gotten one win in solos in comparison to the 10 that I have in squads. Um, but now there's a new game mode out, which is it's called Battle Royale Stimulus, which is there's no gulag, and if you have enough money to be bought back in when you die, you immediately come back anyways.
Yeah, my brothers have been playing that, and it's so interesting because it's all one on one, and money is at it's so plentiful. So it's pretty easy to come back once you die, which is
Yeah.
nice. But getting into late game, there's some killers out there.
Well, it's because the game rewards you for being aggressive.
Oh
So
yeah,
you basically have people who land in they land at the most popular spots because they want to just get as much money as fast as possible because if they die, they're still going to come back.
yeah,
And then once you get to the middle of the game, like once you're 2 or 3 circles in, that's when people who have their loadout weapons are just run. They are constantly buying UAVs.
yeah,
They're constantly doing objectives, and they're just madhousing everybody on it. So, like as a person who I'm typically a little bit more conservative when it comes to those
yeah,
battle royale games, I'm usually conservative. I only pick my fights if I know that I'm going to have some sort of an advantage. I usually lay back. I tend to the outer banks of the circle. I'm not really someone who goes for hot spots, and if I do, it's only if I feel confident in where
yeah.
I'm going. Um, so playing Stimulus, it's like this weird. It's this whole new aspect because when you played it before and you had to go to the gulag, people were afraid to fight
Oh
because
yeah,
going to the gulag didn't mean you were going to get out.
yeah.
Now
It's nerve wracking.
if you have enough money, it means nothing if you die until the end of the game.
Oh yeah,
So now I'm just like I'm doing my normal thing of like being careful, using UAVs, using heartbeat sensors, trying to listen for people, and then I just constantly am hearing shooting, I'm hearing people running around, I'm hearing kill streaks,
yeah.
and I'm just sitting here like, what the hell is going on?
I usually play no fill trios. I just play by myself.
You're a psycho.
I am. It's okay. Because with me, I don't want to hold my team down because I know how bad I am. So my goal is I'm just going to play the zone the way I want to. Get my third party kills and everything like that. And then I'll get into the final 15 and then die within a few seconds of
See,
that.
that's your problem. You're not aiming high enough.
I mean, my second game ever, I got fourth place and it felt great. I quit for a good month because I figured I'd not get any higher than that for a
That's
while.
terrible mindset.
But now
Terrible mindset.
I've been playing more recently as I've been watching the game on YouTube, on Twitch, and stuff like that. Kind of getting more game IQ through watching. And I mean, it's still fun no matter how you play it, as long as you play your game. And of course, it's frustrating because you always think you're gonna kill the other person, and there's always an excuse when you die. But that's okay.
Well, I mean, that's Call of Duty, so. But I mean, I've also been playing a lot of multiplayer on Call of Duty because this whole, with the whole quarantine thing, it's like that's a good time waster in between
Oh,
me
for
playing
sure.
single player games. Like I've
Yeah.
also still been continuing my second playthrough of Red Dead Redemption. So like if I want a good change up from that, I'll go on to Call of Duty. And my favorite is like when they have the playlist where it's just shipment and shoot house,
Yeah.
and then they have like shipment where it's 12v12 and it's just a nightmare of a scenario. It's like that's my favorite type of Call of Duty because it's truly just run and gun. You don't even have time to have an excuse. Like you're really just spawn, shoot, die, spawn. Like it's so stupid, but it's so fun to me because it almost makes you not practice, but get better at your hand-eye coordination and being
Yeah.
able to like analyze really quickly, which then helps you later on when it comes to games like Warzone, where you have to be able to distinguish a player from something else. It's
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, watching you play, I feel like you've always been good. I feel like you should stream those types of games. I feel like you're great at first-person shooters and everything like that. Are there any games that you're actually looking forward to that are coming out soon? I could think of two personally that I'm very excited for.
That's funny. I can't think of a single one.
That's okay.
I can't think of a single game that's coming out.
There was just a 4K gameplay trailer given out for Ghost of Tsushima, which I believe is PS4 only or PS5 only.
It's probably PlayStation only.
And it is gorgeous. It's essentially Assassin's Creed, but with the Japanese culture. So it's a fallen samurai warrior that's coming back and ready to raise hell. And it has the same feel of something like Rockstar has been putting out for Red Dead and kind of open sandbox like GTA. And it also feels like the newest God of War in the style, the format, the way you could upgrade your gear and how you look, but how you look can affect your attributes on certain things and everything like that. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And they have different game modes where you can play in black and white. So it feels like that old timey movie, like a Akira Kurosawa movie or something like that. It's truly gorgeous. And then another one is The Last of Us 2. That's
in the same realm of 2077. You don't even know if it's going to come out.
Yeah, they've been pushing it back and back, but I think a lot of people are really excited. I know my brother is. He played the first one and loved the story. They're actually talking about doing, I believe, a miniseries or TV show for The Last of Us, which would be very interesting, especially in this time, because it's about a deadly disease that takes over the world essentially, and different factions trying to help it break each other and stuff like that. So I feel like it's very fitting. I feel like once we got out of quarantine, hopefully soon, that's going to come out and we're going to be right back into quarantine playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think after this, a lot of people are just going to want media that's going to, either they're not going to want to see media, they're going to want to actually go out and do stuff, or they're going to want media that doesn't remind them of quarantine. They're going to want shows that make them feel free and open and able to do whatever they want. So,
speaking to that, Black Mirror, the creator, Charlie Brooker, he said, I don't think season 6 is
something people want right now, right? Or is something in that
too
realm
bleak for people right now.
It's so funny. The creator of Black Mirror is like, yeah, you know what? The world's kind of too dark,
pretty sad
right now. So I don't think you guys need to be depressed by Black Mirror. But I mean, that's another show. I watched Black Mirror, I want to say around a year ago. Like I actually,
I think you were watching it when we were living together.
No, I remember. I think I watched it shortly after graduation.
Okay.
Or maybe
it was around that time.
Maybe I started it when I was, I don't know. I don't really remember. Maybe I started it at the end of the year for school for May.
It's one of my favorite shows. It's in my top 3 for me personally. I know a lot of people. It's definitely a bleak show, and they don't like to watch shows in a row. But I binged that show. It's so interesting. The way they give you something so you feel like you would want that in real life, and then they show you how it could go completely wrong. Like The Grain, or like Entire History of You is a perfect example from season 1. You have The Grain, you could watch back memories and you think it'll be all great, and then you think about how could it not benefit you, and watching a breakup happen in real time and watching it back, or watching your relationships just fall apart. It destroys you from the inside. And that show, it's perfect at that. Honestly, it's new age Twilight Zone. Honestly,
I wouldn't even compare it to Twilight Zone, just because I don't think Black Mirror deserves to have something compared to it.
Oh, that's fair.
Because
it's very its own thing.
It's very original. It's very original in its own, in its shooting style, in its storytelling. Black Mirror is great. I'm not going to put it in my top 5, but it is great. I can't watch many episodes back to back because it just tears me apart. And it's funny because Black Mirror has still stuck with me through very specific episodes. Like
Oh, yeah.
White Bear ruined me. I can't.
Which one was it? It was the one with Donald Gleason and Haley Atwell.
Oh, right,
Be right back.
where
Be
he
right back.
dies,
Yes.
right, and then she gets a mold or
Ooh,
basically a clone made out of him.
that one tore me apart. My heart was broken. I was ready to cry. I was like, oh my God.
Well, like White Bear and White Christmas are two episodes I know specifically.
White Christmas is one of the best episodes. John Hamm kills it in that show.
Yeah, it's just the way a lot of the episodes end is, really, really tough to watch sometimes.
I like it because it makes you think. It kind of like what you're saying in a different way than BoJack, but it makes you think about the world we live in. And there's people like that would take advantage of things in certain ways. And it's kind of, I mean, it's exactly what it is. It's Black Mirror for a reason. It's showing you your reflection of what the bad is in our world, our country, whatever it may be. And it makes you appreciate the good things that you have in your life. And I mean, I'm looking at it from a very optimistic point of view, so that's why I could watch it in succession and binge it. But I totally understand why other people either aren't enjoying it at all or choose to watch it one by one, week by week.
Yeah, I think it's just a very uniquely its own kind of show. There's no shows like Black Mirror. So I think that's something it can hold on to, is that it's very much its own style of show.
Well, another thing that we've very much connected on in our time through Seton Hall and just our friendship as a total is music. Have you been listening to anything new throughout the quarantine?
Not like specifically new. Like there's not a specific album that has come out in quarantine. Well, there's a couple earlier on, not recently, but like 2 months ago at this point was the new Childish Gambino mixtape. I listened to. The more I listen to it, actually, the less I like it.
Me too. When I first heard it, I was like, all right, I could just vibe to it and everything. And now it's just...
There's only two songs
I could play in the background. Like. It's something I'll play in the background, maybe while I'm doing something. But it's not something I'm going to... Like, I have to put this on and listen.
For me, it is not a because of the internet. And that's how it is for Childish Gambino.
I'm glad he's taking risks. I mean... He's great at everything, and he's proved it once again that he could make any style of music he wants and be successful at it.
Yeah.
But this one just doesn't hit as well as his previous projects, and that's okay.
Yeah. And then the new Weekend album was great. I thought it was great.
It's very 80s, right? I haven't listened to it at all.
Well, you know what's funny is like it's very undertoned 80s. Like that's what seems to be what its foundation, but a lot of it is still like very classic The Weeknd. Like
Okay.
it's The Weeknd's take. It feels like it's The Weeknd's take on the 80s. And
very interesting.
I mean, there's a couple of songs that are just so damn good and so listenable and so just continuously have them on repeat. You know, like After Hours is still just an absolute banger of a song. It's so good. But other than that, you know, like I'll just go back. I've been building a playlist since the beginning of 2019, and that's still what I listen to. I just continuously add music to it now. Still listening, you know, to a lot of Joji. I can't wait for his album to come out in July.
Hey, it's coming up soon.
So, yeah, I mean, time isn't a real thing anymore. So July could be tomorrow, and I would have no idea.
Everything feels like it's either flying by or you're just drudging through the water, and there's no... What day is it? Honestly,
it's Saturday.
But like, it's crazy that without my family doing work still, I wouldn't know where I am in the time continuum.
That's where it's funny because like my family's still working. Yeah. Like my mom is a labor and delivery nurse, and she's you know, working 3 days a week or 4 sometimes. And my other mom, Ruth, she works for an engineering company, and they're, you know, and surveying, so she's able to still go to work and work normally. So like there are days where I'm the only one who's not working now, and working in the TV industry is kind of it's just so the sports media industry, really. So it's like I'm just constantly waiting for sports to come back. One, because I'm a sports fan, but two, it's like it's my job. It's what I do. So
yeah, I totally get it. I mean, I know you're not the biggest fan, but I have a UFC shirt on. There is a event tonight. They've had 3 events this week, including the one that happens tonight, and it's so nice to have sports back. Just having something to watch with the family and everybody root for whoever. It's just happy to be in that environment again, to be rooting for something and to have something to watch other than the news or your favorite stream or whatever it is. It's something different instead of watching old games. The Last Dance has been on the past couple of weeks, and that's been a great documentary about Michael Jordan. And have you been watching that at all?
No, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for it all to come out together. So
yeah, I get you.
But it's also like, it's so. I was never a huge basketball fan. Like, I played basketball a little bit when I was growing up, and then like I didn't really get into basketball until I went to Seton Hall, and then I really got into basketball. But I don't know. I'm not like, I've never been a person to be a part of the, who's the greatest of all time argument.
Yeah.
I've never been someone who's confident in having basketball arguments or conversations because I'm not super knowledgeable. Like, I'm still growing my knowledge on it. And I've appreciated what I've seen of it. Mainly, honestly, the main reason why I want to see it is because all the trailers and the way that it's shot, like, is what is drawing me to it. Like, the video aspect of it is what's drawing me to it, and just as much as admiring Michael Jordan's abilities.
I was going to say, I know you're a big fan of documentaries, and ESPN's doing a really good job with this one. The only gripe I have with it is they keep going out of chronological order. So they keep talking about the 1998 season, and then they'll jump back and forth. And I understand it's probably because they want to draw a certain storyline throughout each episode and everything like that. But in my opinion, if they just kept it chronological from from the start of his career till 98, I think it would be a nice build up. Yeah. And it still would have conveyed the message like you're saying. So, but yeah, from a documentary standpoint, I think you'd love it.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I'm just waiting for it all to come out, and then I have ESPN Plus, so I can just go on and watch it there. But overall, man, I've been watching a good amount of documentaries and just a lot of different stuff. I mean, I've watched a lot of true crime stuff which I'm not really a huge true crime person, but I've been watching it, and then some stuff is really good. There's a lot of stuff I could recommend is the Innocence Files.
What about documentary wise?
I've rewatched a lot of CNN's The Decades.
Oh, you introduced me to that, and that's some of my favorite stuff. It's so interesting to go back and see what time was like, honestly.
Well, it's even
the nostalgia
funny
of it and everything else before it.
Well, yeah, because obviously they release them every year. They do a certain set of decades. So I got introduced to the first one that they did, which was the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched them every year since they've come out. And the most recent one was the 2000s, which came out last year during our senior year at Seton Hall. And I remember we watched a lot of the episodes together. And it's so funny going from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and most of the 90s when I wasn't alive. Being like, that's history, I understand it. And then you go to the 2000s, and then you get to relive stuff that you were technically alive for, but not old enough to comprehend them. So now that the 2010s are over, I can't wait to see that. But
yeah, you wonder what they're going to put in. I mean, they cover everything within those documentaries, media, music, culture.
Well, that's my favorite part about them is they're not broken down. Like, they're 10 episodes each, but they're not broken down by each year of the decade. They're broken down by categories of it. And, each episode is always, or the first two sometimes, is always about TV. Mm-hmm. And that's being people who we are, and we study it as well as film. It's so interesting to see how different it was, and how it started in the 60s, and you get to see, the development of news and on location broadcasting, as well as narrative TV and live TV, game shows, and going through the entirety of the decades. And then you get to the 2010s, and they go over what are the most popular forms of TV, and you get stuff like reality TV and Fear Factor and all the MTV shows. And then you get to see the development of MTV really in like the 80s and the 90s, and you see how it's different. So it's awesome. I recommend the decades to everybody I can.
Another documentary, it's a little bit older. I was watching it more last year than this year. is Hip Hop Evolution. It combines two of the things we both love, which is music and documentaries. And it goes from the beginnings in the late 70s, early 80s, getting Curtis Blow and the breaks and the very simple rhyme schemes and everything like that, and going to more to today and understanding the people we grew up with, which is like Outkast, Lil Wayne, Eminem, Jay-Z, Nas, all those people, Kanye. Kanye's a huge influence on us. And it's been really interesting. Some music I've been listening to is, as you know, I'm a bigger into the indie jazz type of stuff. So Jacob Collier is mainly known for his YouTube stuff. He just won a Grammy for his song Moon River. It's a cover, and he does it a cappella, and it's beautiful. A lot of people know him from bouncing around for stuff for Wired and a couple other bigger companies that post videos on YouTube. But he has something called perfect pitch. So just like how we could say this is orange and my shirt's black and red and everything like that, he could hear a certain note and know exactly what it is just like that. And I think
from like the pitch and the chord and everything like
yeah,
that?
it's so interesting. So the way he creates harmonies, because everything just flows to him like we know numbers or words and stuff like that. He knows music notes and how things flow together. He makes some of the grooviest, funkiest jazz I've listened to in recent memory, and I've been loving it. He's really what I've been listening to lately. A few that I've been listening to specifically within quarantine, people like Sammy Ray, Moonchild, Volpec, Jade Berg, and Sylvanesso. Some of them are more jazz, some of them are some electronic. All of them fall under indie, and I think that they've all been amazing for me. I know you're more into the electronic stuff.
Yeah.
And you've been getting me into that type of music. So whenever
one
I've
of the
been
things
working,
I'm most proud of from my college years is the fact that I was able to get somebody else into electronic music other than myself.
Whenever I work out, I actually put on that playlist instead of any other playlist, because
the electricity playlist.
It keeps me going.
It's a good playlist, man.
It's
good
great
stuff. It's good. Yeah, I've been. My two like core music groups that I'll not rotate, but flip flop between is electronic and hip hop. Like I'll go smoothly in between them. Like it's almost like it's a seasonal change for me. Like all right, I'm kind of over this. Now I'll go back to the hip hop, and then once I'm over hip hop, I'll go back to electronic. But I mean, overall, just if we wanted to even talk about like most favorite artists that we have, like one that me and you will love, I think, for the rest of our lives is Flume, that both of us know. And I can listen to Flume every single day. I have specific songs I can listen to. All of the, like every single new song he has put out, I have liked, I've listened to, I've added it to my playlist. It's just, there's very few artists that I can say have that much influence over my enjoyment of music that Flume does. Kanye West is another one, but Flume's ability to just make such, because he has hard-hitting music, he has groovy music, he's got really smooth, bumpy music. It's just, there's so many different adjectives I can come up for the different styles of music that Flume has. And when I showed you his experimental mixtape, Hi, This Is Flume, which was also accompanied with the visuals, I was blown away. Like I just watched it through twice, and I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
And then you threw your laptop on the table. You're like, listen and watch. And press.
Yeah, I showed you I showed you Cold Water, which was a remix of another song, and the visual that went along with that. And like that, I still watch it now, and it gives me chills, because it's just, how do you artistically come up with those two things together? It's like, how do you come up with the idea that I'm going to match the climax of this song with like the pumping of water into the ground to show cracking of, like cement? It sounds stupid the way I'm describing it, but like,
no, but I mean, visually it fits with what's happening, and it's aesthetically pleasing. And I mean, that's what art technically is, it's something that makes you feel something, whether it's visually or audibly. And Flume is one of those people for you, for sure. And I'm so thankful you got to show me songs like Rushing Back, Friends. Uh, he's great. He's fantastic. I just remember either walking to the TV station and you're jamming out, and I'm just like slowly picking it up and everything like that. And then a week or two later, I'm blasting it in the room, and you're like, thank God.
Well, yeah, because we went to individually listen to music on our own headphones while we were doing homework
Yeah.
to, all right, I'm going to throw on Flume's original mixtape and we're just going to do whatever we want to do. And then we completely abandoned all of our work. And then we're just sitting there singing along and
Yeah.
dancing and just like loving it. Like that we had Flume and we had Joji that did that for the both of us. And that's what I can remember from us living together is
Sure.
music and just loving it.
Shout out to Addie specifically for also showing me a ton of music. I mean, there's Steve Lacy and a couple other people, the internet that's Sid from Odd Future, her band and everything like that. He's really opened me up to a lot of new music that.
Well, because he's like our reference for anything Tyler the Creator.
Yeah, for sure. And
hey,
Igor, it's still my favorite album of last year. As much as I love Billie Eilish's album with her brother Phineas.
That's someone who I cannot listen to any more music of. I can't listen to a single Billie Eilish song, which stinks because she has a lot of good music, but I can't listen to any of it anymore.
I'm so sorry.
Well, that's like, and I'm so sorry to say this because this is one of your favorite artists, but I can't listen to any more Maggie Rogers songs. Like they're so. Whenever I think of them, it almost feels like it's. I don't know why. Like I not get overwhelmed, but I almost feel like I have always had that song, and like when I stopped listening to it, I was like, man, I really need a break. And now it's just at a point where I hear it and I'm like, skip it immediately.
Hey, everybody has songs like that. Recently, I just went out with my brother today. We went to work out and enjoy the gorgeous weather. And he started playing some old school stuff like Sugar Ray. And he put it on and it brought me back to when I was like 5 and I was introduced to that stuff. And I was like, this is perfect summer music. I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be right now. And it really helped me mentally for quarantine. It's like, all right, I'm outside. I'm having fun with my brother. I'm getting to work out and all this stuff and enjoy the music and everything like that. It was so nice to get that today.
Yeah, I mean that I'm kind of in the same realm. That's why when you asked me earlier, like what music have I been listening to, I really can't say because I think at this point now, like in quarantine, you're kind of almost just going back to what you're comfortable with and what you are happy listening to. So that's why I've really only been listening to the playlists that I have because like those songs are on there for a reason. So overall, I mean, it's like I have so many old Kanye West songs on that playlist. It's
perfect.
I mean, I have songs from I have a song from at least one of all of his albums, except for his most recent one. But there are other reasons for that,
and that's okay. Yeah, I was listening to Late Registration recently, and again today, me and my brother were talking. He's a giant Jay-Z fan. And we watched Kanye make a beat for him way back when Kanye wasn't even making music. He was just producing for everybody and Jay-Z's reaction to it. And then that got us on a train to listening to Timbaland make Dirt Off Your Shoulders for the first time. And
I love that video of Timbaland making that song for Jay-Z because it's just Jay-Z. Like you can see it is like the gears are kicking. He's like,
yeah.
Okay.
And he immediately goes into the studio. He doesn't write anything down like he's been doing his whole career. And he makes one of the most recognizable songs of the early 2000s. And
yeah.
It's unbelievable how talented some people are.
No, I mean, I've been getting into music and making music is something that I've been trying to do since before quarantine. But, now that you're stuck at home, there's
something to do.
Something to do. So I've been practicing a lot of ukulele. And
same here.
Been thinking and looking into getting a keyboard because that's the next step of music that I want to get into. I also got GarageBand and I've been just playing around on that, and it's really fun just like playing with a lot of the electronic stuff and trying to kick it out with some hi-hats and some 808s and some drums, and it's just really it's fun to kind of try and release that creative side that you don't have a lot of, I guess, training or practice in, and try
Yeah.
and see, like, just go off of your true senses of like, does that sound good? Do I like it?
Hmm.
What could I think would be better? And I think that's kind of fun. It's like your natural um, understanding of how you appreciate art and how you can develop it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I've been also practicing the ukulele. My brother's a lefty, so I have to play upside down. So if you were to give me your ukulele, I'd be lost because everything I play has to be reversed.
Mhm.
But I was also thinking about getting a bass guitar because learning something like a Red Hot Chili Peppers bass line would be awesome to me.
Well,
And
you
then
should start
also,
with the basics first.
well, of course, but
Of
working my
course.
way up to something like a Red Hot Chili Peppers or Thundercat, someone like that, I think that would be so much fun. Just got to find the money to do that first. Hopefully, once
It's out there
quarantine,
somewhere.
we need another stimulus check for that. But
I didn't get the first one, so
oh, heartbroken. I'm so sorry.
it's all right.
But yeah, creating music, it's always been something so interesting to me. I felt like if I wasn't so obsessed with movies and went into that field ultimately, I would have eventually went into music production because I find that stuff so interesting.
¿Por qué no los dos?
I know. I mean, there's always time for that, but um, I like to focus in on one thing and make sure I'm good at it first. So I got to make sure I have an actual film career of some sort before I get into music.
Well, I mean, talking about movies, we want to get into that? What movies have you been watching?
Honestly, I haven't been watching that many since
Tom.
quarantine. I've watched two, I believe, and both with my girlfriend Sam. The first one was Midsummer, which came out last
How
year.
was that? I've never seen that.
It was very interesting. So it's a type of horror movie that's been coming out recently where it's more psychological and not that many jump scares or anything along those lines. Um, someone
Like
I
tense
watched
for the
online,
entirety of it.
it's very tense. Someone online, I can't remember who off the top of my head, but they said Midsummer did something that we've never really seen before, and it's being scared during the daylight. Almost the entire movie is done during the daytime, and again, you're tense. You're on the edge of your seat. You're waiting for whatever's going to happen next, and not that it necessarily scared me, but it did make me clinch up the
Uncomfortable.
entire time, you know?
Yeah.
And aesthetically, it's gorgeous. Florence Pugh's in that. She's an up and comer that's been crushing it acting wise. She was just in, she's going to be in Black Widow, the new
She
movie
was in
coming
Little
out.
Women too.
She was in Little Women,
I thought she was great in Little
Fighting
Women.
with Your Family, a bunch of other movies. She's very talented. Jack Rayner, who's from Sing Street, that came out, I believe, the same year La La Land came out. So that's 2016, 2015, around that time. Really good musical. He's great in that as well. I enjoyed it. Sam enjoyed it more than me. She wants to go back and watch it. I'm fine. I'm not a big horror movie person, so I'm fine with my one watch. But recently we watched Mystic River, which is from 2003. It's from Clint Eastwood. And it's one of those psychological crime thrillers. And those are my favorite types of movies. I like something that keeps you guessing, kind of makes you think of where the plot's going to go, kind of twists it on its head, twists it on its head. There we go.
You got there.
I got there. And kind of just drops your jaw by the end of the movie. Sean Penn's in it. Tim Robbins is in it. Kevin Bacon's in it. It won a bunch of awards. I think it won 4 awards that year in the Oscars. And I very much enjoyed it. Me and Sam loved it. We were texting the whole time through it. We're watching together. And it was a great time.
Nice. I think
what movies for you?
I've only seen one new movie over quarantine, and that was Parasite, because I didn't have the opportunity to go see it when it was in theaters. And I loved it, as I fully expected that I would. I think that movie is incredible. I'm so glad that it won Best Picture.
Me too.
It was so incredibly well done. The story, the cinematography, the acting,
extremely well executed on every level.
It's like I was saying, that movie was firing on all cylinders
Yeah.
from beginning to end. And I love the messaging in that movie, the societal undertones of it. Like that one scene in particular after the monsoon happens, and he's driving the the woman to wherever she needs to go, to the grocery store or whatever, and she's talking about how the rain was a blessing, and
Yeah.
they really needed it, and just the night before their whole home was flooded, and it's just so well done.
That whole shot when they're getting out of the rich family's house, and it's literally like they're on top of a mountain climbing all the way down into the depths of the valley, which is their home. And you see the flooding. They get into their house. There's the shot of the daughter on top of the flooding toilet, and it's amazing. And then you get the bird's eye view of them on a door just trying to
navigate
get through.
Out. Yeah.
And then, like you're saying, you get into that scene, and she talks about the smell, and that's when the father snaps. He really feels the hatred going the other way. And I love that movie. It's not one of my favorite movies of all time, but in my personal opinion, it's one of the more perfect movies made of all time.
Yep.
Something like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or a Silence of the Lambs, I could acknowledge that they're near perfect movies, if not perfect movies, but they don't fall into my personal favorites. And Parasite, I remember talking about it in October for PTV, seeing a preview when I watched The Joker. It was one of the trailers. I was like, that looks so interesting. I've heard of Bong Joon-ho before. I watched Okja on Netflix when it came out in 2017, and it didn't disappoint on any level.
Yeah, no. And then the only other couple of movies that I've watched, but they were all movies I had seen before, was the very beginning of quarantine. I watched 1917 with my parents again, and I remember I told you when I had first seen that movie for the first time how much I loved it.
You texted me immediately.
Yeah, I'm a big war movie person, so I was very excited for that movie, and it does not disappoint. I mean, that movie is Sam Mendes absolutely kills it when it comes to one-shot style, and the cinematography is outstanding. And
Deakins is our king.
Honestly, it's just, there's not a single bad thing I can say about the movie, but the one thing I can say that stands out is the way that the story is developed, or the way the story is laid out, which is so interesting because it is a one-shot style film. Technically, there are no breaks, but you can obviously tell when scenes begin and end, and a lot of the time, all portions of the movie come together to dictate when those scenes are beginning or ending. There's a change of color tones. There's a change of scenery. There is a shift in the music. There is a shift in the tone on the screen. And the movie is laid out in chapters where each part of it is different. And the underlying message of each one then adds to the total of what the true meaning of 1917 is, which is it's an anti-war movie, as many of them are.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just showing you the horrors of the everyday, of the long-term effect, the short-term effect, and how people who were either forced into it, chose to take part, or just had to go along with it. I mean, I've already told you about this numerous times, but my favorite scene in that entire movie is when George McKay's character is in that basement with the French woman whose
same for me
town is under hold of German soldiers, and it's on fire, and this poor woman is just, not only does she have to worry about herself, but then she's taking care of this child, which then you find out is she doesn't know whose it is, she doesn't know its name. But that's something that drew a lot of emotion out of me, because it's this woman doing a soldierly duty, which you don't entirely think of when you think of war. A lot of my favorite war movies dictate, or they have one scene that kind of shows the side of war that most people don't ask for war, but it's a side of war that people didn't ask for. Saving Private Ryan has the scene where they meet the French family where their town is under hold of the Germans, and then they're trying to like take my daughter. Or there's the scenes in Full Metal Jacket where they're in the Vietnamese town, and you see all these different people who are getting killed from both sides of the war. It's just terrible. And then this scene in 1917 is this woman who's, she's terrified and she's scared for her life, but she's chosen the fact that she has to take care of this child, and she doesn't know whose it is, but she's doing everything that she can. And that scene alone just always gets me. It's always so sad. And I feel like you could submit just that scene, and you could win awards. You could win awards
just
for
a short film.
a short film for that 8 or so minute scene, and it's incredible. And I think 1917. Well, I'm also glad it was in the conversation for Picture of the Year.
Oh, for sure. And maybe if it came out in a different year, it wins all the awards like Parasite did this year, but it had tough competition. And I think things went fair both ways. They got 1917 still got some awards and everything like that. Parasite got, I believe, 7 or more.
They got a lot, rightfully so.
I'm just glad that I feel like 2019 was a really good year for movies.
I mean,
top to bottom.
Just looking at Best Picture nominations alone.
Yeah,
everything. You have Parasite, you have Joker, you have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you have 1917. You have, was Little Women up for Best Picture?
Yes, but she was not up for Best Director.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah.
No sense.
I think for the Oscars that they should, just like they did in 2009 after Dark Knight wasn't nominated, expand everything to 10 nominations. It still gives those people the excitement that they got nominated. It's good for the studios. It's good for the people. And it doesn't take away from anything because
only one person wins.
Exactly. But you also get to be recognized. There's so much good talent out there, whether it's acting, directing, movies, some music out there too that's been coming out of the movies that have been amazing. I think we should really open up and see what happens in the coming years for how many. We don't have to fill out all 10 like we don't necessarily do for Best Picture, but having the option of having up to 10, I think would improve the Oscars.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We just make the show really long.
Yeah, it would.
Whatever. It's already a long show. It's already a long show.
I think maybe you push some of the lower things to the technical Oscars the day before, like they've done with some other categories in the past. I think that would be fine, but hey, we'll see. I don't make those decisions, so.
Hopefully you do one day.
Hey, that's the goal,
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add? Any other movies, video games, music, TV?
The only other thing that I had really been watching a lot of during quarantine, and I was watching before it, was my first ever anime that I really got into, which is My Hero Academia, which I've watched twice through now. I watched it.
Good for you.
I watched it, with Japanese voice acting with subtitles, which is how I think a lot of that content should be viewed, at least for the first time. If you want to go back and watch it the second time to kind of see how you feel about the American voice acting, which I have gone and watched a couple episodes of My Hero Academia with sound dubbing or voice dubbing instead of the Japanese, and it sounds too American. It doesn't. It really doesn't fit the show, but it's incredible. It's, for a while, I had been wanting to get into an anime because I have a lot of friends who have at least one that they feel strongly about, or one that they've told me that I should watch. So, before I got into My Hero Academia, I had been thinking about watching Cowboy Bebop. I had a lot of people recommending One Punch Man. I mean, you're a big fan of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
So or Naruto is another one I know a lot of people enjoy. So I kind of went through all that, and then I had one friend recommend to me, maybe you should watch My Hero. It's a really good introductory anime. It's very not similar to American media, but it has American isms in it, and the show is based around superheroes, so that's kind of a universal thing that you can get into. And once I started watching it, I kind of just fell in love with the show. It's a great coming of age story in a world of superheroes, and it has a lot to do with friendships. It has a lot to do with responsibilities that sometimes kids have to take on or teenagers have to take on before, they might be ready for it. And the action and the animation is incredible.
That's one thing anime, I believe,
undefeated in.
Is definitely undefeated in is their action scenes, because they take time, just like most Japanese live action movies. They take the time to show you the blows, where American cinema and action content in whatever form it's in is very quick cut. You kind of don't really get to see the blow. Everything is, you try
It's
to
almost
feel the
about
power of
it's about the
everything.
entirety of the fight. Whereas, when it comes to anime alone, like they really highlight how specific things really land.
And it's amazing. It's really entertaining to watch. So continue on your watch.
Yeah, I mean, I watched My Hero through the first time very quickly, like probably unhealthily quickly. I was watching multiple episodes.
There's nothing wrong with a good binge watch.
I mean, no, and I hadn't done that really with a show in a while. Like I hadn't really fired through it. And I had recently gotten Hulu without ads, so I was like, you know what, if now's the time to do it, now's the time to do it. So I really went through, and it's just amazing. Like just flat out, like an awesome show. It's just, the action is so cool. There's so many likable characters. Even the ones you don't like, they're still freaking cool. There's so much action that like raises your hair on your body, and it gives you that feeling in your stomach where you just like kind of either feel without words, or the only words you can say is like, oh my god, like that just happened. And like it's just,
that's where you look around in your own room and you fist bump and you're like, no one saw that, but that's okay.
it's really, it's so cool to find a different, I think I'm going to go off into two different tangents here. I'll finish off on my first one. It's like it's fun to have found a different form of media, or not a different form of media, but a different avenue in visual media that I hadn't been able to experience before, and now I have it now, and it's made me want to go to other areas in that field to kind of see what else I would enjoy. Like I started watching Cowboy Bebop, and I've been enjoying that, but it's a bit older and it's a bit different style show, but it's still very well done. And I'm planning on trying to find another one to start. But overall, since basically our senior year of college, I've been trying to find, foreign media that I can enjoy. Like I'm really glad that I was able to watch Parasite, and I watched it with subtitles, and it didn't bother me. I was able to enjoy it while still being able to understand everything.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've been listening to, thanks to Joji and 88 Rising, I've been able to find music that is either Japanese or has Chinese or Korean in it, or being able to find, like French rap or Canadian rap that has Montreal French in it. It's fun, or even, like a lot of Latin music, a lot of salsa music, or even, Mexican or Latin rap is a lot of fun. So it's fun to find foreign media that is still, represents what you are remembering, but brings a new flavor to it and allows you to go, wow, this is new, it's exciting, I want to find more.
Yeah, it's taking the blinders off and opening yourself up. And I think that's really great that you've been able to find the media that originally got you to that, and now you're able to branch off and do what you got to do. Yeah.
But other than that, it's just living my life. I've been playing a lot of Stardew Valley as well, but I'm not going to get into that right now. It's too much to get into.
That's the next episode, maybe.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it for this episode. Thank you so much for an amazing conversation. It's been nice to catch up during quarantine. If you want to like and subscribe to this, I'd really appreciate that. This is something that we've been really trying to focus on lately, is trying to put out content. This is the time to do it. We have free time, and we'd really appreciate if you supported us, interact with us. You can find me on, I believe, Instagram and Twitter at TJ Rinaldi17. Fam, what's your stuff?
Just at Chris Famularo.
There we go.
It's very nice simple and straightforward. I guess we'll probably have that written out on the screen so they can.
There'll be a little something there.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for the conversation, and we'll see you next time.